Okay, I wasn't going to record this. Well, I didn't. It didn't occur to me to record this. But I'm making picahna, which is top sirloin. What is picahna in English? It is beef loin, top sirloin cap, and in Brazilians call it picahna. And what it is a cut of meat that has a fat cap that literally is a top cap of fat. And it's very inexpensive, but if you cook it in sous vide for 4 to 6 hours, it becomes extremely tender to the point where it's, in my crappy palate, very close to filet mignon. And that's saying a lot. But what I'm going to try is I'm going to try something that actually I got the idea from a classmate, a friend of Nate's from school, who is apparently a very good cook. And he made the boys steak the other night, and he used a coffee rub. And I'd heard of the coffee rub. I haven't thought about it in a long time until Nate mentioned it. He said it was really, really good. And so my brother-in-law for my birthday gave me some counterculture coffee. Normally we have dark French roast, and this is a little bit milder. This is a little closer to espresso beans, and I mixed it with some cayenne, so a little bit of cayenne pepper, paprika, and my standby Montreal steak seasoning, which their steak and the chicken seasoning is awesome. I highly recommend it. I actually haven't bought the chicken in a while. I probably should. And this has, everything's got salt, black pepper, red pepper, garlic, onion, sunflower, and a little bit of paprika. Paprika's down on this. So I add a little bit more paprika, a little bit of cayenne. And what I was going to do is just, it's late. Friday, I was just going to put the rub on the bulk pieces, but I think I'm just going to butcher it up real quick and then toss it in there and let it sit overnight. And then after I come home from the ninja gym, I'll go ahead and sous vide it. So that's probably where I'll pick up from next. After I'm done, I'll be sous viding it probably for 6 hours. The reason why I'm doing this is because some of my oldest friends are coming over for dinner, and haven't seen them in a long time. And I thought this would be a great way of celebrating. And it's going to get colder tomorrow. There's a cold front coming in today, and I'll just sear it on the infrared grill, and yeah, hopefully it'll be really good. See you in a little while. I mean, doesn't that look good? Might be a little overkill. What I am going to do is probably make 4 of these pieces and just freeze the other one for me later on. But the reason why I decided to make the video was the fact that the smell was amazing. It smells really, 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 really good. You mix in some of the paprika and the seasoning from the Montreal steak seasoning along with the coffee. Like, it smells way better, especially the medium roast. It smells way better than I thought it would be. Anyway, thanks for watching. Okay. Ooh, it's hot. So the technique is you want to submerge the meat and squeeze out the air out of the bag as much as possible. Because air is an insulator and decreases the efficiency of the cooking. And it's hard to do with one hand. Ooh. What I like to do is put a clip to hold the bag so it doesn't go underwater and increase the chances of a leak. And I put a bowl in there to kind of weigh it down. That's
Okay,
it.
so I'm filming this
while my Betsy's taking my friends downstairs and for a tour. But anyway, this is what it looks like when I pull it out of the water. It's been about 5 hours and it smells really, really good. It doesn't look very appetizing wet, but what I'm going to do is crank the grill up to maximum temp and sear this. Yeah, it smells good. Coffee and steak, not something you think of. Okay, so that's just what it looks like before I sear it. And honestly, it looks incredibly dry, more dry than it normally looks when I cook this or sous vide. Okay, so this is the morning after. I didn't want to be rude and annoy my friends by filming a video, cooking, you know, showing off my food. And even worse, while we're eating, getting the camera up in their face, like, how is it? How is it? How is it? How is it? But holy cow, that steak was freaking amazing. I am not exaggerating. That is the best steak I've ever made in my life. The coffee, and my friend Jim, he loves his meat, and he was very impressed, I have to say. It turned out perfect. I actually cooked this to 132 degrees because I just didn't want my friends to freak out that at 131 it's a little bit red, but it was perfect. But as I showed in the clip before, how dry the meat was with the rub on and how very little water there was, I'm imagining, I don't know, maybe something's absorbing the moisture, and really I did not need to sear that. It's when I don't have that kind of rub on there, or any kind of rub. Yeah, that was a significant rub, and the fine grainness that I ground the mild roast coffee bean, you know, made that part great because it just allowed it to cover the meat, and I think that's what kind of dried it out in a good way. And so again, not to gross my friends out, I actually was intending for them to cut the fat cap off themselves, but I just, you know, it's like, that's kind of, it's a ton of fat. And actually when I went ahead and butchered the fat off and threw it into a plastic bag, and I'm like, holy cow, that was a lot of fat. But the pieces they look great, and sure enough, 132 was perfect temperature. But more importantly, with flavor, like it's just really, really, really hard to describe, and I just highly recommend it. That counterculture coffee. In fact, I just ground up some more for me to have for my morning breakfast. It's just like I haven't even had my coffee yet, but it's really, really good. And one of the descriptions of it, is it on the backside? But yeah, I mean, this stuff was great. It's the caramel nuttiness of it, I think just made it. If I'd used the French roast that we usually drink for our coffee in the morning, I think it would have been too overpowering. Though I'm willing to try it one time on a piece, just for giggles. But yeah, that was just simply amazing. The cayenne pepper helped, I think. That gave it a little bit of kick, though I didn't put too much because I just didn't want to overpower anything. But yeah, I could taste the cayenne in it, and the paprika, maybe not so much, but I definitely would. I think I'm so desensitized to paprika that it doesn't. I can't really pick it out as much. But yeah, so like I said, that McCormick's Montreal Steak seasoning mixed in with the finely ground espresso with an appropriate amount of cayenne to taste, and an appropriate amount of paprika. Probably a little bit more paprika than the cayenne, obviously. But yeah, I cannot recommend that enough. I'm going to totally do that again. The texture, going back to the cooking at a 132, that was freaking filet mignon for a third to a quarter of the price. And I think I'd challenge anyone to do a blind taste test and tell me that wasn't filet mignon. It was that good. Yeah, totally recommend it. And again, it is, you know, my friends, they appreciate my cooking experiments. And, you know, my friend Missy was like, hey, you know, are you doing some kind of special that sous something? And I'm like, yeah, actually, I do most of my cooking sous vide, and I can. And as we're eating, and everyone's just like quiet at the table because they were enjoying the meat, you know, which is a good sign. I was explaining, you know, it's actually sous vide is the perfect method of cooking when you are entertaining, because, and Missy didn't, I mean, and Betsy didn't want me to do some elaborate smoking thing, because she's like, you know, honey, you need to entertain our guests. You know, you need to help entertain our guests. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. You know, you shouldn't. She said her point is you shouldn't be outside working when your friends are here. And so I was like, okay, well, let me sous vide a steak. But it's the perfect method of cooking when you're entertaining and cooking, because it takes no effort on your part whatsoever. And you know, all I did was step outside, preheat the grill to get it ripping hot, come back in, hang out, take the steaks out of the bath, out of the water, out of the bags, out of the water, and then sear them. And really, like I said, I didn't really need to sear them. I just did it just so. Only because I thought I had to, and honestly, I could have just left them the way they were, because man, they were really dry, especially if I left it out sitting for a few minutes. Any surface moisture probably would have evaporated at that point. But no, anyway, great method, highly recommend it. And this is one of those times where my son actually taught me something. Anyway, thanks for watching. Here's an addendum. One of the coolest upgrades that's not related to cooking, but is related to the experience of eating, was we had my birthday dinner / Valentine's Day dinner on Monday, the day before Valentine's Day, which is a pro move for anyone. That way you're not paying exorbitant prices and struggling to find a place to take you. But one of the cool touches they had were these tiny little, it's a really nice restaurant in Alexandria. Ada's on the river, which I highly recommend. It's never disappointed us, and just an amazing restaurant. In my opinion, the best one in Old Town, Alexandria. Anyway, what they had were these very, very cute LED table lights. And when you get to our age, your eyesight starts to go. And it's really kind of funny now. I notice it. Like, I saw in dimly lit restaurants, you can't see the menu. You can't read the menu. So it was cute. I was like, all the way on the other side of the restaurant, I saw a guy clearly had his cell phone on, the light on to read the menu. In fact, he kept it on for quite a while. But anyway, at this restaurant, they had these very cute, just really gorgeous LED lamps on the table. And, you know, I love design, and they were just gorgeous tables. More importantly, I love design when its form follows function, and they were just the perfect amount of light. And I got these amazing photos of Betsy at dinner, and you know, I thought to myself, like, we got plenty of light in our dining room. Speaking of which I don't even have the light on, but I was like, you know what, the light lamps just added this certain amount of ambiance you can't get even with the flickering candle, which is kind of freaking annoying trying to read. So I got these LED lamps, which are nothing like the ones at the restaurant, but these add just so much charm to your meal. But they also are functional because they give you just enough light, accessory light, to read. And we, you know, read the paper every night together. And yeah, I mean, and, you know, we had it out with the tablecloth and everything last night, but it was classy. Anyway, LED table lamps for the dining room, highly recommend also.